Well, the MLS All-Star Game is just a couple days away now, and for the first time ever, it is being held in Portland, and I'm joined by Tony Meola, a former national team goalkeeper. Tony, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
You know, first things first, you're in town here. I know you were at a kids' soccer camp yesterday.
Yeah, so for the last 4 years, I've been lucky enough to travel around the country with Allstate, and we've basically hit about 8 cities a year where we go in and work with kids, and we sort of barge in on their practice, and by the end, we give them a bunch of gifts from Allstate and ultimately give them a ticket to the All-Star Game. And it's a pretty neat thing we do because the majority of these kids, I asked them prior, and they had no intention of going to the All-Star Game here in Portland. I thought it's an awfully good group of soccer players that are not going to see this event, so we made that happen for them.
I'm sure they were absolutely thrilled. You know, speaking of soccer in general, here in the U.S., it is really starting to take off. In this last World Cup, we just saw the crowds watching in stadiums on the big screens. Why is it taking off so much here?
Well, I think the success of the national team, the spirit that they had throughout the World Cup. Look what's happening here in Portland with the Timbers, and they've kind of set a new standard here in the Northwest on how fans can get around the team, can support a team, can make it exciting to go. It's probably the best value for your dollar in professional sports, and my guess is that during the World Cup, Portland was like the rest of the country, where, as you mentioned, stadiums were filled, parking lots were filled, big screen. They found bigger screens every week, it seemed like, to get in these parking lots. So it's an exciting time in our sport right now.
What do you think the U.S. team needs to do to really take that next step to be on par with the top teams in the world? Argentina, Brazil, Germany?
Well, you know, in 2002, we set a standard, and that was to get to the quarterfinal, and I think that's the next step once again for the U.S. team. It's a good enough team to compete with anybody in the world. We saw that. Some games are a little bit more difficult than others, but there's a reason only 8 teams have ever won the World Cup. It's because it's the most difficult tournament in the world to win. So, you know, we're close. We're there. Things like what's happening here in Portland make it easier because our players can develop, and for me, as long as we keep going in the right direction, I'm happy with the progress.
Okay, thanks so much. Tony
Meola,
former national team goalkeeper. He was the goalkeeper we were talking off camera in 1994 when the U.S. had that great game against Brazil.
You were there.
I was there at Stanford Stadium. So, yeah, nice
Great
to meet you in person. Thanks so much. Jenny, let's go ahead and send it back to you.
Good stuff. Okay, thanks, guys.